Hey everyone, welcome to Stage 7 Summary. Today we had a time trial, and what a hell of a race. I don't know what just happened. But let's get into it. So the first thing we want to remind everybody of is that we are in Watopia again. This route is taking us through a lot of the woodland sections or woody sections. The course itself is called Cliffside Kicker, and it's a 2-lap course today. So it features a partial KOM, and it features a dirt gravel section. So here we go. I'll show you this here. So you can see there at row 20 we have the partial KOM. So it's about 1.7. So enough of a challenge and an opportunity for me with everything that's been going on. Like, you know, I lost a couple pounds, so my watts per kilo are looking good. I think I'm, right on that place where I need to be. So we do that, and then there's the dirt section that gets us. It's a little bit of a drag, and then there's some rollers, as you can see, but for the most part, it's a pretty good time trial course. It's good for strong time trialists because it's not just how much power can you put out. It's really how are you attacking this stage. And for me, coming into this, the idea was attack out of the gate, establish myself, get myself at the front as best I could, and then try to challenge myself to settle into what it took at the front to pull off a victory, and we'll see how close I came. So yeah, once I got that established, like first 4 or 5K, then I would settle in, ride the waves that are ultimately going to be coming, of fatigue and hurt and all the voices in your head telling you stop, why are you doing this, etc., etc. So there's no real segments featured, and we'll get right into the action. I want you guys to kind of see everything from the start. So I also did some Jedi mind tricks, changing my kit today, and I also went into this knowing I wasn't going to change the camera angle very much. So sorry if it's a boring angle for most of this day. So changed my kit, matched my socks a little better. And you know how some of us cyclists have to be matchy-matchy. So this was the first little riser just coming out of the pens. It's about a little 500-meter riser. So I did what I could to just attack it, put everything I had, knowing that I had all my matches in my pocket at this point. And that was one that I was willing to spend to get out in front just to see, like I did on stage 1, what's the front of this race like? What do I have to pace it to come away with a good time? And how should I utilize that as a tool in my toolbox? So on the first stage, knowing I was in that top 20 coming in without being in very good fitness was an excellent result, right? I even mentioned that during that video. But by this stage, my expectations for myself are much higher. I've raced myself into some fitness. I've put my heart rate through the roof. There's been some PRs in heart rate, PRs in segments on Strava. So I've really been outdoing myself these last couple stages, ever since the time trial up the Alp, basically. And that was my idea. The first 4 stages, I was going to bleed time, and then in the last 3 or 4, I was going to do my best to put my damage in there. Last year when I did the 2-week world tour, the one thing that I came away from that with was that as these events go onwards, I get stronger. I don't know how, but it happens. I can't predict how much, obviously, but every little bit gives me a little bit of glee. So here we are. I'm trying to just keep pace with this guy who's coming through here in the pink. I just keep telling myself that, okay, I'm in the top 10 now, so I should be able to put in a good performance today. Now, the other thing I want to mention here, today is a rest day, or it was a rest day, but I opted instead of waiting until tomorrow to race this event to take advantage of living on the East Coast in North America. So I had a nap after work today. I got some extra sleep. I woke up around, I'd say maybe around 10:30. I had a meal, knowing that it'd be 2.5 hours going into this event. Perfect time for digestion, and especially on the bike, feeling like strong, not feeling bloated or anything like that. So 1 a.m. was when I raced. And the other part of that strategy is I give myself 36 hours of recovery between the last two stages. So I had 36 hours since I raced last, because I raced at 1 o'clock yesterday, and then tonight at 1 a.m. And then tomorrow I won't have to race at all. So my next race will be, I think it's Tuesday or Wednesday. I can't remember. Wednesday. All the days are blurring together at this point. So on Wednesday, I won't be racing until 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So that gives me the perfect amount of space between the two to be as strategic as I can be, to have an opportunity to actually perform in these stages. So there's a little riser here, and I'm seeing that I've got a gap up ahead. There's a group of about 2 or 3 there. There's about 3 seconds. I don't think I can hang with them. So I'm just going to try at this point to focus in on my sheet and really do my best to attack the course. But at this point, I'm like, it's okay. Third's fine. I don't know what this time slot's like. I don't know what to expect. I haven't raced this course before that I can recall. Maybe it was in one of the other tours, but at this point, a lot of the things in Watopia are starting to look familiar anyways. So the sheet isn't always as necessary as it was on stage 1 to 5 or 6, let's say. It's still very, very, very useful on the KOM sections and identifying sprints. But the undulations and the risers, I just kind of zoned into this race today because it was just me and the clock. All I had was what I had to give in me. And spoiler alert, this was the best performance I've ever had on a bike, I think. Maybe I've had a couple of time trials in real life. Like I did one in July of this year, and I set an all-time 20-minute power record. It was the most excruciating thing I've ever done. I remember getting off my bike saying, I'll never be able to do that again. That was the highlight of my time trialing career. And I haven't been able to get anywhere near those numbers again. But again, that was in July. Here we have Canada Day event put on by a great local club. There's a couple of like world-class riders that show up. Some triathletes. One of them was 5th in the world at 70.3s, and he's a very formidable biker and runner and swimmer, to be honest. He's a really talented guy, and he's got a couple of friends around him that are really powerful. And then there's this guy. He's just a freak. I remember watching him go by me in a race. What they would do is they would let the people doing a road bike time trial go off first, and then they would let the faster guys go at the end, giving them something to chase. But everyone kind of seated themselves for what they thought they were going to like accomplish. Just into the action here for a moment. So this is the partial KOM, the first time through. So up here, I'm gauging my effort. I'm seeing how everyone else is going, telling myself, I can probably take it back a few seconds here So I'm attacking. I'm way above where I should be, and I have no right to be doing it. But I used caffeine again today, and I don't know how ignorant I was to this, but all of a sudden it makes things just a little bit more tolerable. Just not a whole lot, but I mean, that's what it's advertised as, like 2%, 3% or something like that. So it's been working for me as somebody who doesn't have any caffeine in their system regularly. So I know this is KOM, and I smashed the steepest section. I keep these two guys ahead of me. I'm thinking of the magic number 6 and telling myself, okay, I got one guy at 7 and one guy at 3, and we're coming up to this kind of like false flat section here, and I know that a lot of people let up a bit, so I just told myself, again, sticking to the credo of today, attack the course as best you can. And this was a segment where I was like, let up, but don't let up incredibly. Like, the target for today was between 255 and 260, which is right on what now seems to be my accurate FTP. And my weight, I've lost a kilo since the beginning of the event, which is perfect. I lost that on stage 4, I believe. The first 3 stages, it is gone. And then since then, I've been a bit more mindful to not lose any more, because obviously it would be muscle loss at that point. I'm not losing fat doing high intensity work. It would be like cannibalizing my muscles. But anyways, we get up through that segment and we come into this flat section. And this is going to go on from, well, there's a little dirt patch here, but then we have rollers from 10.8 to 12.8, sorry. So back to the local time trial. So in July on Canada Day, I outperformed myself, but I was on a road bike, and so was this other guy. And I remember after the event checking out his Strava, because there was like a actual Strava segment for this event. They do it annually, and they do it every long weekend here in Canada through spring and fall. So this guy averaged 420 watts for like, I think it was 18 minutes. And he is like 176 centimeters, or like 5'9", maybe 5'10". And he's a string bean. And I was told that he was a former Olympic short distance runner, like 1500, 3000. And now he's starting to cycle. So, yeah, I mean, in comparison to some of these guys that you race against, it's really humbling. And when you do have a great performance, you tend to have a great appreciation for it, because they don't happen every day. And you definitely can't predict it. If you could, I would have won a lot more over the course of my racing career. But anyways, we're still on lap 1. There's nothing really featured until we have that little like riser section coming up at 24.1. The course is mostly just flat and scenic and rolling, and just every riser basically just telling myself, put in a little bit more of a push, try to keep with these guys. I'm seeing the front is gone. It's 13 seconds. There's no way I'm winning the stage. But this is about the point where I notice the guy in second place. I'm saying to myself, that name looks familiar. I think I saw him on the overall standings list in GC. And I think he was about a minute up on me, maybe 50 seconds. I didn't do the math. But all of a sudden I was like, okay, this guy I have to keep within reach. I don't want to lose time to him. And if I am, which is completely reasonable to think will happen, I want to limit it. I want to stay as close to him as possible. And this is only the first lap. So I'm looking at that saying 3 seconds in 2 laps. That's 6 seconds. Now it's 8. And we're on a descent here. You're going to see he probably pulls away like usual. Probably much heavier rider than I am. I'm sitting now at 64.51 when I weighed myself this morning. So, which is interesting because I don't know if I've mentioned, but I have like a Wi-Fi scale, and as part of my morning routine, I stand on that. I make sure that my weight is accurate every day for these events. So, yeah, I went down by 0.3 or 0.4 or something, or 0.03 or 0.04, something like that. I was at like 5.6 the other day, or 6.3, and now down to 5.1. But it's been stable since stage 6, I think. So stage 6 and stage 7, it's basically like the same weight, which is good to see that it's stabilizing. So we go now through the tunnels, and I've switched to the first person view. My iPad, I brought it like right up to my eyes. I made a little bit of a change there as well. Today I wanted to feel like I was in a bicycle race, a real bicycle race, because that's what this is. On all of Zwift, this is the only race that's a real bike race. The other ones are crits. They have gamification up in between the top HUD and my left HUD. You see that little circle? That circle is in the game at certain points when you cross those. It's almost like a little jackpot machine, and it rotates through the options, and there's a bunch of like power-ups and gamifications and whatnot that you can deploy. So a lot of the other races, these are factors. For example, there's one where you can become a ghost, so you can break away off the front, or one where you drop a burrito and everyone around you gets added weight to them, so you can attack. So this has none of that. And also the other races are more like criteriums. They might be on these courses, but they're all built for sprinters, for big guys. The time trials are built for sprinters, for big guys. So I know there's a couple of series for climbers. I think my club puts on a Climbers Gamut series. But really, when you're talking about answering the question, how good of a GC rider am I? Like, how well could I finish a multi-stage, multi-day, difficult tour? This is pretty much all that I've ever found. Maybe there's others. I'm not on the internet like everybody else. I don't have social media until, like I said in another video, like just last November, because I was just trying to get everything launched for this event when it came to six cycling, which, a side note, has been fairly successful, which is a shock. So here we're coming into the end of lap 1, and I've asked myself a couple times, how can I sustain this? What am I going to do? I'm seeing that guy has put 7 seconds into me now. That's 14 seconds if I remain at this pace. And I've looked at the sheet, and there's a little riser coming. And I'm just telling myself, ugh, why you do this, man? But there's this voice in me, and it came and it delivered the news of, too bad. This is what the sheet says. Do it. So it said to punch. So I punched up this, and I'm hoping to see the 7 seconds be reduced to 6. Maybe the rider in front of me is not fluctuating his power as much as I am, but that's all I can hope, because on every downhill, and then I was paying attention on that first lap, he was pulling away. If I wasn't doing well over what you should be doing on a descent, he was just pulling away from me. And he probably has better raw wattage. If I looked him up, I would probably see that, but I'm not that psycho when it comes to the other riders. I'm usually solely focused on myself and my performance. And am I giving myself a fair chance? Am I confident that I can come into something like this and do really well? Knowing coming in that I'm not coming in with a chance to get any advantage on the first 4 stages. So, that's why I deploy the strategy I do. So, second lap, I'm seeing this gentleman, and I think he's in one of the upper classes, and I remembered seeing his name at some point too. But now I'm saying to myself, oh, he's dragging. So if you can keep up with him, just keep him right in your sights. Keep that time right where it is, and kind of let him pace me. But then I notice he's not punching up these climbs and these risers, and I'm telling myself, well, I have to. If he's not going to do it, I'm going to have to do it, dragon or not. So here we are, descending. I brought back time to the second place rider there, and you can see out in front 30 seconds. So that rider's won. I'm not doing anything to get him back. Just keeping up here, seeing what I can do, and then putting in a little dig to try to get as close to this guy as I can. We're now reducing it to 1 second, and I'm saying to myself, okay, attack over the top a little bit and see if you can break him. But then I see these 2 pink riders coming too. So he's doing well. He's keeping it up. But then I'm like, okay, let's see what you're made of, buddy. Because I'm about to find out what I'm made of. And I saw those 2 pink riders coming, and they were hot. So I was going to think about, okay, I'll use them like I was trying to use that dragon guy, and I'll let them kind of like set a pace, and then I won't worry about anything but keeping them as close to me as I possibly can and pushing out as much wattage as I could in the moment. You'll notice a lot through this as I fluctuate between like the low 200s and then above my threshold. And I'm doing that purposefully, because at this point now on the second lap, in my head I'm saying, I think I have 3 or 4 matches left. And I've got that partial KOM, I've got this dirt drag, and then there's this roller section going into the finish line. I was like, I think I'll save my matches, and that's where I'll deploy them. And on each of those segments, like 11 out of 10. Like, go to the most insane level that you can possibly go to. And like at one point, my heart rate hit 177. I've never seen a heart rate that high in my 40s. So whatever was going on up in my noggin was working well today. So I've now passed that rider, and I'm searching my memory for how far away from him I was in the listing. I can't remember. I just knew that he was ahead of me. So at this point, he could be the guy just above me. And now something is taking over me. Now there's this voice in my head that's saying, you are a strong cyclist. You can show this guy that in the next stage, he should be looking out. So I'm trying to just put some time into him. And you'll see I put a second in, then he comes back. Then I put another second into him, and he pulls it back. So I'm wondering in my head, how many matches does he have left? I'm going to gamble. I'm going to guess that I've got more than he does. The guy in front is gone. But at this point, too, in my head, I'm like, you know what? No. Don't accept the fact that 30 seconds is ahead and is a sure thing. Riders crack all the time. And I knew right now, at this point, I've identified, like, I'm on a day. This is going to be special. I'm vibrating. I've got this, again, a really great musical selection going on in my head. And I'm telling myself, everything you got to get rid of this guy. Break him. Break him or break yourself, whichever happens first. And the same thing with the guy in front. I'm seeing that his numbers are falling. Now, usually when I see a rider, and I think I've mentioned this in the other one, but like this rider, for example, if I saw his watts per kilo, he could probably be doing 3.7, 3.8 and go this pace because he's a heavier rider and he can put out more raw wattage. But for me, I have to really go into a suffer locker to go above my threshold as many times as I had to during this event. But in doing so, maximizing my chance to get any sort of time back. So here's the climb, and I'm like, okay, this is the time where you use your strength. You see I'm pushing the power up to 340 and 320, and then it drops, and then I kind of tell myself, you're still in the reds, keep it in the threes, keep it as close to 300 as you can. You can't do it like you did last lap, but you can certainly come close as you can. And I've got this guy out in front of me now, and when he passed me, he's not in my category, which is nice, but I can still use him as a carrot. And I'm now looking to the front guy and seeing 34 seconds, so my efforts aren't doing so good. But I also remind myself that he's moving further away right now as I'm going up this section. He's probably on like a flatter section, so he's just moving faster. So don't pay attention to the 34 seconds. Wait until you get to a segment where you can gauge if he put more time into you. And we can see right here, the time's coming back. And I'm just doing my target. So 255, 260, then I'm trying to spin, but I'm grinding as hard as I can instead of spinning. I've told myself when you get on the flat, try to switch to the spinning technique and see what happens, and you'll see my cadence will come up here. But I'm like, don't give up. Use this section like you did on the first lap, but I'm dipping a little bit, and I'm looking back and I'm seeing the guy that I was racing against is gone. He's 20 seconds, but now some new guy has emerged. I have no clue who he is. I'm asking myself, have I seen his name before? And then I just stop focusing on behind me, and I look forward to the guy. I say, I just took 8 seconds out of him. I'm going to go for it. I got 9K in me. I'm feeling really good. I got to roll the dice. So I roll the dice on all of these segments. The dirt section here, push it a little harder. The rollers, utilize some hard pedal strokes and some rest. Just really get in tune with this course and bring something out of you. And at this point too, I really feel like there's this animal coming out of me. Like, whoa, I'm almost a spectator. So I just had to let it happen, right? So I was almost like in awe of myself. So I push really hard. You'll see through all of these little undulations. Give myself a little break. Not too much of a break, but a break on the little descents. And each one I'm getting up out of the saddle and I'm pushing. And I'm getting down. I might do 6 or 7 pedal strokes. Then get up and another 6 or 7 pedal strokes. That's all I had in me was these bursts of 5 or 6 to get over these rollers. But I'm looking now, and the time's coming back real quick. I hadn't looked for a while. I was focusing on the course, and all of a sudden I look up and it's down to like under 20 seconds, and it's dropping. Every second I'm watching it, it's going down. And that just fills me with some sort of vigor. I don't know how to explain it. So I've got this guy still in front of me that I can use as a carrot. He's going fast, so I'm trying to use it to my advantage to just chase him like the rabbit in the hare, the rabbit in the hound. So just again, easing down the sections and then bumping my power up any sort of 2%, 3%, just bursting, like burst, push. And I know that, oh, there's a little descent coming up here. I'm watching my cheat sheet. So I can ease up. I can really push hard, get my speed up to as maximum as I can. Because on a descent, I'm losing. But I'm thinking, if I go and sprint into that, Maybe I'll gain a little bit more extra speed, which will then hold a little bit longer so that I can maintain things. And now I'm looking up and saying 14 seconds, and I'm looking at 5.7K to go. And I just took out 4 seconds in less than a kilometer. I got a chance here. I really do. And I did win a stage, I think. I won one stage in the last Grand Tour last year in February. It was the last stage of the event. I went up and I climbed like an absolute... I had another one of these types of days where I was just some animal came out of me. But here I am. It's at 14 seconds. We've got some descending. And at 33.6, really all we have left is a riser coming right here, which we just went over. A descent here to 34K. That's just got over. And then now at 36.7, I've got a 250 meter riser. And at 37.4, I've got a 300 meter riser. And there's a little one here that I hadn't made note of, but I mentally made note of it on the first lap. So I pushed up this as well. So a little bit more, again, descending. So just trying to push that power right over the top and then ease up. And I have this innate ability to recover real quick, like a couple of seconds. And mentally, I'm like, okay, cool, that was too long. Get back on it, buddy. But I take all these like 3-4 little second pauses, and it's just enough for me to be able to bear this. And now I'm saying, come on, you can push 265. Maybe this is the day you can sustain the power that, like, that's what I chase in a lot of my events here. Like that number exactly, 265. I've never achieved it. I've achieved it for a lap on an event or something like that. But to actually hold it, I think the most I've ever held for 60 minutes is like 263 watts or something. And today I'm like, oh, I might be pretty close to that. So here we are going through the tunnels, and I'm seeing that gap is not coming down anymore. So he must have had himself a little break, and now he's pushing again to the line to make sure he secures his position. I'm looking behind, and I see the guy that I first was racing is 24 seconds back. And then the guy that had appeared out of nowhere, I put at least 6 seconds into him. So now I'm looking behind again, because in front is gone. At this point, I believe the front is gone. So I'm seeing 6 seconds. I'm seeing that this guy is really pushing. Every time I go up one of these inclines, I'm watching, is his wattage higher than mine? Is mine higher than his? And I'm digging as deep as I can humanly possibly do. And I'm just saying, like, there he put in way more than me, and he closed it down to 4 seconds. And with 1.1K to go, I'm like, not again. Like, the other stage, I was second for a long time, and then all of a sudden, in the last K, that guy came past me, and I ended up third. So today I'm like, no thirds. No thirds, buddy. And I am absolutely spent. I'm snot coming out of my nose. Sorry if that's TMI. All my liquids are gone. I'm sweating through like a pig, and I push, and I make a last push. And when I used to do de-essing, I told everybody, sprint from the second bridge. So I held myself to the same account. I sprinted to hold him off to make sure that I kept my gap, and boom, across the line, a puddle of mush. And then all of a sudden, it tells me that I won. I have no idea where that other rider went. Like, he had 15 seconds or something. Did he quit before the end of the event? Is he just messing around with us all? And then I was like, oh, maybe he was race control and he was like watching in or something so that they could record it and see what kind of things go on. I don't know. All I know is I'm like 8 seconds into the second guy, but the guy that I know, I'm like, I took 28 seconds on him. Amazing. I'm elated. And I'm like, I mean, I've said it earlier in the video, but I'm like, what just happened? What came out of me? Like, wow, you've really got it in for this event. You somehow summoned something that frankly, it's going to take to get on the podium here. You can't get on the podium if you can't have a performance like this. You have to be able to push yourself to new heights in competition. And especially for me, knowing that really this is my chance. Like I said, that all the other races don't give me this. This is the one that does that. I've told all my club mates. They've all been aware. I try to recruit them to join our team so that they could be involved in this. So, like, this is my key event. This and the next one. I use those to race myself into my summer fitness. So, at this point, to be kind of where I was in the last one, I'm just knocking on the podium, going into the climbing stage, which again is my strength. It gives me a lot of hope that I can actually be at the top of this category. It's humbling, yeah. Especially when something like today happens, and all the attention to detail and all of the strategies and everything. Like, clearly I overthink all this stuff, but I do that because I want to do myself justice. I want to know I gave everything. I used to have a quote: don't cross the finish line disappointed in how you performed. Perform to the maximum you can on that day. And I stick with that. I still believe it, even as an old guy in my twilight of my racing. When I remind myself of that, sometimes these days happen. So that's it for today. I'll get out stage 8 tomorrow when that's done, or the day after, actually, because we've got 36 hours and all I'm going to do is recovery work. I have a massage gun, I have a Mark Pro, I have foam roller, I do mobility. As I've aged, that's the one thing that I would say that's changed the most. I have to do a lot of recovery work to be able to perform. So, thanks everybody for tuning in. Thanks also for following along up to this point. And for anybody who has gotten this far, I will be putting out a actual summary video as well, because I know it's hard to watch all these. Everybody has a busy life. And I've been trying to keep these short, but I ramble on like this sometimes. So I'll put together a summary video at the end of this, and you can have an easily digestible stage-by-stage breakdown. Thanks. If I see you on course, ride on. Have a good one, guys. Peace.